Let's please set in a comfortable meditation posture and close the eyes. Put your attention on the silence that's always there deep in the mind. Connect with that infinite silence. You are the silence. You are the silent witness. Now listen to the words of the Yoga Vasishtha, beginning with chapter 5, book 5, chapter 32, verse 20. It came to pass that the Daityas, after the example of their king, one and all named Vaishnavas and worshipped Vishnu in their city and temples without intermission. This information reached heaven and to the abode of the gods, that the Daityas, having renounced their hatred of Vishnu, had completely turned into his faithful believers and worshippers. The gods were all astonished to learn that the Daityas had accepted the Vaishnava's faith. Even Indra and the 33 Rudras about him marveled how the Daityas came to be so. The astonished gods left their celestial abode to go to the warlike Vishnu. Resting on his serpent couch in the milky ocean. They related to him the whole story of the Daitya demons. They asked what was the cause of their conversion, and they were very much astonished. The gods said, "How is it, Lord, that the demons who had always been adverse to you have now come to embrace your faith?" It appears to us as an act of magic or hypocrisy. How different is their present state and transformation to the Vaishnava faith, which is acquired only after many reincarnations of the soul from their former spirit of rebellion, in which they broke down the rocks and mountains. The rumor that a clown has become a learned man is as amusing as it is doubtful. Just as the news of blossoms budding out of season. Nothing is graceful without its proper place. A rich jewel loses its value when it is set with worthless pebbles. All animals have their disposition conforming to their own mantras, then how can the pure faith of Vishnu agree with the dog-like nature of the Daityas? Our bodies, pierced by thorns and needles, do not grieve as much as seeing things of opposite natures set in communion and connection with one another. Whatever is naturally adapted to its time and place, the same seems to suit it then and there. Therefore, the lotus has its grace in water and not upon land. Where are the vile Daityas, prone to their misdeeds at all times? How far can the Vaishnava faith reach for those who have never and can never appreciate its merit? O Lord, we are never glad to learn of a lotus left to parch in the desert soil. So we can never rejoice at the thought that the race of demons will place their faith in Vishnu, the Lord of gods. Chapter 33. Vishnu explains Prahlada to the gods and appears to Prahlada. Vasishta said, the Lord of Lakshmi, seeing the gods clamoring in their accusation of the demons, gave his words to them in sounds as sonorous as those of rainy clouds, responding to the loud noise of screaming and thirst-stricken peacocks. The Lord Vishnu said, you gods, do not marvel. At Prahlada's faith in me, it is because of his virtuous acts in past lives that this pious prince is found to be worshiping me now. and he is entitled to his final liberation in this, his present life. He shall not have to be born again in the womb of a woman, or be reproduced in any form on earth, but must remain aloof from regeneration, like a fried pea that does not germinate anymore. So here we have a clear expression of how an individual achieves moksha. And what is the cause of repeated physical births and deaths? It is the reservoir of individual karmic traces that everyone who is born on earth is attached to. Over the eons, we have accumulated mountain ranges of karmic traces. And it is the need of expression of those karmic traces that drives us again and again into reincarnation. But at some point, after many lifetimes of connecting with the silent witness and regaining that ability, becoming the silent witness, that has destroyed or balanced mountain ranges of karmic traces. And then the individual is no longer found to be needing further reincarnations to balance more karmic traces. A virtuous man turning pious becomes the source of evil. But an unworthy man becoming notorious is doubtless a step towards his better being and blessedness. You good gods, who are quite happy in your blessed seats in heaven, must not let the good deserts of Prahlad be any cause for your uneasiness. Vasishtha resumed. The Lord, having thus spoken to the gods, became invisible to them like a feather floating on the surface of waves. The assembly of immortals then returned to their heavenly abodes after taking their leave of the god, just as the particles of seawater are carried to the sky by the soul's warm breezes. or by the agitation of Mandara Mountain. Henceforth, the gods were pacified towards Prahlad, because the mind is never suspicious of one who has the credit of his superiors. Prahlad also continued in his daily adoration of his God with the contriteness of his heart and in the formulas of his spiritual, oral, and bodily services. It was in the course of his divine service in this manner that he attained the joy proceeding from his right discrimination, self-resignation, and other virtues with which he was crowned. He took no delight in any object of enjoyment, nor felt any pleasure in the society of his consorts, all which he shunned as a male deer shuns a withered tree and the company of human beings. He did not walk in the ways of the ungodly or spend his time in anything but religious discourses. His mind did not dwell on visible objects, like the lotus that never grows on dry land. His mind did not delight in pleasures, which were all linked with pain, but longed for his liberation, which is as entire of itself and unconnected with anything as a subtle grain of unperferated pearl. His mind was abstracted from his enjoyments, but not yet settled in its samadhi of ultimate rest. He was wavering between the two states, like a candle swinging both ways. The God Vishnu, who knew all things by his all-knowing intelligence, saw the unsettled state of Prahlad's mind from his seat in the milky ocean. Pleased at Prahlad's firm belief, he proceeded by an underground route to the place of his worship and manifested before him at the holy altar. Seeing his God manifest to his view, the Lord of demons worshipped him with twofold veneration and made many respectful offerings to his lotus-eyed deity, more than his usual practice. Then he gladly glorified his God with many prayers in gratitude for appearing before him in his house of worship. Prahlad said, I adore you, O my Lord Vishnu, who is unborn and without decay, who is the blessed receptacle of the three worlds, who dispels all darkness by the light of your body, and who is the refuge of the helpless and friendless. I adore my Vishnu in his complexion of blue lotus leaves and the color of autumn. I worship him whose body is of the color of the dark Brahmarat bee, and who holds the lotus discus club, and conch shell in his arms. I worship the God who dwells in the lotus-like hearts of his devotees. With his appearance of a swarm of bees, who holds a conch shell as white as the bud of a lotus or lily, with earrings ringing in his ears with the music of humming bees. I resort to Vishnu's sky blue shade, shining with the starry light of his long stretching nails, his face shining like the full moon with his smiling beams, and his breast waving like the surface of the Ganges with sparkling gems hanging upon it. I rely on that deity who slept on the leaf of a fig tree, who contains the universe in himself in his stupendous form of Viraj, who is neither born nor grown, but is always the whole by himself, and who is possessed of endless attributes of his own nature. I take up my refuge in Vishnu, whose bosom is daubed with the red dust of the newborn lotus, and whose left side is adorned by the blushing beauty of Lakshmi, whose body is covered by a red-colored cloth and smeared with red candle paste like liquid gold. I take my refuge under that Vishnu, who is the destructive frost of the lotus bed of demons, who is the rising sun to the opening buds of the lotus bed of the deities, who is the source of the lotus-born Brahma, and who is the receptacle of the lotus petal seat of our understanding. My hope is in Vishnu, the blooming lotus of the bed of the triple world, and the only light amidst the darkness of the universe, who is the principle of consciousness amidst the gross material world, and who is the only remedy for all the evils and troubles of this transient life. Now let us continue, established as the silent witness. And process the balancing of the numerous karmic traces that have arisen during the reading of the Yoga Vasishta by using the Trimana Sanyama procedure on the esoteric Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Jai Gurudev.